All right, so Jordan, you can walk us through like what you did. You were supposed to create 4. Can you show me the assignment again? Can you pull up the assignment?
I can't pull it up on my screen, but I have it on my phone.
Okay.
You
Okay. So
said to one moment, let me go back there.
so
Actually, I just
I'm seeing that you did, because this was what I was saying yesterday on the recording I did. I see you have 5 users right now. So which means you did the assignment, at least for this. So one of the thing was for you to take a screenshot of this page that I'm seeing, because I can see from here you have 5 users, and then you have 2 rows. So this is good. Okay.
yes, sir.
All right. So click on that. Let me see the users that you created. Good job. Good job. And then this was the other assignment also, to take a snapshot of this particular page, you know. So this is awesome. I want you to go into the admin and go into the dev, go into each and every one, not the one that we created the last time. Yeah,
Okay.
I want to see the permissions that you gave.
So this is the dev, and it has EC2 full access.
Okay.
And then this is QA.
Okay.
Wait, where's my permissions?
So it looks like you didn't give QA any access.
Oh, really?
I'm not seeing it.
Because
Yeah,
I did
there's no
lam.
permission for this one.
Okay, wait, I did Lambda for that. Do I do this?
Yeah, you can add a permission.
Then Lambda full access. And it's gonna be this one, right?
Yes.
And next. Do I just exit or add permission?
No, so you click on add.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay, so that's that for QA. Wait, I wasn't supposed to go to QA yet. That's supposed to be. So I'm so sorry, I made a mistake. QA is the one that I said it didn't make sense for me to give them all the permissions.
Okay.
That's why I
So
didn't add it.
let me see the instruction here.
I can repost the I can repost the assignment copy.
Okay. All right. So are you able to like upload it on the thing? Do you see that option? Because I don't see. Can you go to your classroom? Let me see.
Classroom. I
Yeah.
haven't
So
used that.
while you are right there, if you click on the show, you see those on your profile picture. You see the dots, those dots.
Yeah.
No, go down, not that one. Click outside of that. Click, you see the one next to you see that one. Click on that.
I didn't use this email for the classroom for some reasons. I don't even know.
You didn't use this?
Wait, let me see. I think I used my other email.
Okay, so you gotta log in with your other email.
Can I just, I'm all over the place. Can I just use this one?
Well,
Because I was confused. I have two, I have two Gmail hosts or accounts. So sometimes it switches between each other and I'm like, wait, where am I? What am
okay,
I?
so you just have to send me this email after class,
Okay.
and then I can add this email and then remove the other one.
Okay, so that means I gotta go to the other one now, right?
Yeah, you gotta go to the other one. So Ivan, you are just joining us. I'll give a brief review just in a minute. When he finished, they just have an assignment I gave them last week, so just going over.
This is it.
Okay. Yep, that's it. So AWS. So that's the assignment. Open it. Yeah, and then so let's see if you click on the assignment, like go up. Let me see. So you say add or create, right? So you can, so if you click on add or create, I've not used this feature yet, but if you click on add, I think you can add or create things here, a file, and then you can upload. You can you X out of that? I mean, can you just click outside? You can mark as done. Go back to this classroom. You can mark as done if you have finished the assignment. And then click on done. Let me see. What is it gonna say?
I didn't attach.
Yeah, so you have to attach. So you see so you have to go back. So cancel that one. So all you need to do, you click on add, right? And then you select a file. So you have to have the file. So if you have so now you can go to your browser. If you have it on OneDrive or anywhere you have it, just take a screenshot. You go to your computer, and then you upload that file on there. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can do that later. We gotta keep going. It's 5:22. So I'm gonna share my screen. So if you can stop sharing.
I'm sorry, before you continue. So what access am I supposed to give QA? This one is QA.
Yeah, what does just follow what the instructions say, okay?
You said all full access to all AWS services.
Yeah, it's not gonna be this is just demo.
Just admin, right?
Yeah, just admin. It's just admin access. So when I say full access, it's just admin access. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah. So for example, if you click on add permission, or never mind. No, don't worry. So I'm gonna share my screen so we can keep going. Do you guys see my screen?
It's coming up.
It's loading. Yeah.
What do you see?
What's IAM users?
Okay, good. So that's where I want us to be. So last week, we talked about cloud computing. We talked about like what cloud computing is. We've covered the basic of that. So we also covered IAM user. So we define what a user is. We say IAM users can be an individual system or application that require access to AWS resources. So it's just like anybody that you are going to grant access to Amazon Web Services to your account. That is a user. A user account consists of a unique name. So again, these are parameters that you have to, when you create the user, it has to be unique. You can give them password. You guys know now how to do this. Jordan, good job with what you did. I'm really impressed. So good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, so just make sure you submit it. Message the same thing also, just like you saw what Jordan did. So today we are going to talk about groups. I want us to finish IAM today, but before we even after the groups, I want us to do one thing. I want to give justice to everybody here, and which means I don't want you to spend money unnecessarily. I don't want you to spend money on something that you are not going to spend. And so what I'm going to do after the group, when we talk about group, I'm gonna walk you guys through like the AWS billing, so that you know how you'll be charged, how you can delete instances, so that you are not, because every time you create a server and you leave it on, it's gonna be running, and AWS, that's how they charge you. And so you got to remember, the servers that we create, you are being charged. That's what cloud computing is all about. Cloud computing is really about like pay as you go. That's they call it. That's the model that we use, right? Using the cloud, you pay. So which means like the AWS will only charge you for the resources that you are using. So I want to make sure that when you guys are not going to be paying unnecessary money for services that you are not using, unless if you are going to host your own website, your own application, then you are aware of that. So what I am, before I move forward, do you guys have any question from last week? Any question, any queries, any concern that came up from last week, apart from like the technical issues or other stuff? Any question? Was it clear? So I'm going to take silent to be yes. So if that's the case, then we're going to move on with groups. So what are IAM groups? So IAM groups are just a way to assign permissions to logically and functional units of your organization. So you segregate, make it logical, and then you assign those permissions. So what I've shown you guys so far from last week was you gave the permission directly to the user. That's not best practice. That's not best practice. Let me pull up my AWS account real quick, because we're going to be going there.
I'm so sorry. Can you repeat that? You said that's not best practice?
Yes. And I'm going to tell you why. So giving a user, giving permission to a user directly is not best practice. In fact, even AWS, they will advise you not to do that, because we are talking about scalability, right? So let's say everybody that come into your account, you give them their own permission. What if you have 5,000 users? You are going to give each and every 5,000 users their own permissions, and that's too much. It's too much to manage. It's too much to know like who is doing what, right? Because really the purpose of this, you want to control, you want to make sure that anybody that is on your account, you want to know their activities. What are they doing? When did they log in? When they log in, what did they do? So that's what we talk about, like the triple A's, right? Authorization, accounting, right? So authorization, are they authorized to do this, to create an EC2 instance? Are they accountable? How are we going to know that if they go delete, if they go do malicious things, are they going to take responsibility, right? And so that's why you don't give just the permission just anyhow. So AWS will advise you to create groups. So for example, you can say dev, which means anybody, if you hire a developer, you put that developer under dev, right? And we are going to see that. I'm going to demonstrate that really quick here. But so that's what a group is. So basically, you're just creating a logical and functional unit in your organization. And that functional unit means like you put users into the groups based on their job requirements. So bulk permissions management, easy to change permissions and individual. So it's very easy, it's portable. And then we'll talk about IAM roles. So we've talked about users, we talk about groups, and then there is roles also. An IAM role is similar to a user in that it is an AWS identity with permission policy that determine what the identity can and cannot do. So it's IAM role is just almost the same as a user, in that you give them permissions and like access, and then you can say, hey, you can only list EC2s, or you can create EC2s. So we are going to see that in a demonstration. So IAM authentication and authorization. So this is what I was telling you about. How are they going to authenticate? How are they going to know that you are who you are, right? How are they going to know that, Jordan, you are the owner of that account? So that's what they talk about, authentication. How are you going to authenticate that you are the user? That's why we created the multi-factor authentication in our last class. For me, I use a biometric, and sometimes it will ask me for a code. And Jordan, you were able to demonstrate that the other day, wherein you created, and then you were able to like access it on with your phone or your authentication app. So that's authentication and authorization. Let me see here. Yeah, so you have authorization, authentication, and accounting, right? The accounting is really about like, how am I gonna be accountable for my actions? And trust me, they will know. Your agency will know, like if you did something that you were not supposed to do, because there is a footprint from the day you log in into this account. So I'm going to log in really quick into my AWS account. Ivan, I know you are joining us the second week. You and I can talk about it. There's a video also that you can watch from the last class that we talk about, like how to create this account, the AWS account. But I can also walk you through if you have time later after the class to stay. So I'm just gonna go to my IAM. So right now I logged in as a root user. So if you see on the top here, you see that it will say root. So which means I have on this account, this AWS account, when you have a root access, it's like you are like the God. I mean, that's not comparable to God, but you have unlimited privileges, unlimited access here. On this account, I have unlimited privileges, I have unlimited. So that's why it says, you see here, Cloud Ski Gateway. If I log in with a different user, it will say that the username, it will say the username, and then it will say the account number. But here it just says Cloud Ski Gateway, which means I'm the root user here. So gonna go back to the slide really quick, just so that we finish this. What are IAM access keys? So we talk about, so I don't know if we covered this last time, but in the video yesterday, I covered this a little bit. I even created one. So IAM access key are used to make programmatic calls to AWS using AWS CLI command line interface. So I talked, Jordan, you asked question last time about this. What is CLI? CLI is just a command line interface. So the access key and secret key is what you use, you as a user, that you use to connect with other resources on AWS or outside of AWS. Let's say you want to connect this account, your AWS account or resources to communicate with Google or to communicate with YouTube or to communicate with Facebook or to communicate with Jenkins or other applications that are running. You have to have the access key and secret key. That's how you communicate. That's for computers to communicate. There has to be a link and connection between the one device and the other device. So those are access keys. We are going to create them today, and you are going to see how to create them. So the sign-in process, it doesn't really matter here. Password, IAM password, we already created a password. You know how to create the password. You can create a custom password also. Access key versus password. So the password, like when you are logging into AWS, so depend on your user, you access AWS console with password. So you see, like when before I log into this account here, it asks me for my password and I put in my password. So that's what they are explaining here. And then in either case, make sure to rotate credentials. So basically, for your organization, if you look at your current job, they will tell you that, hey, you need to change your password probably after every 3 months, 90 days, right? They will say you need to change your password.
Right.
Yeah. So it's because of those conditions, right? So you have principles. So this is really important to understand because when we go talk about the policy today, it's important. IAM principle refers to a user, an account, service, role, or other entities. So remember this. They might ask you questions on these things I'm telling you here. So it's really important to go over this slide again and read it yourself and also do some research. So but when we talk about a principal could be a person, a user, it could be another account. So if you have, like, I have multiple AWS accounts. I have more than probably 4 AWS accounts. If I want this account, let's say this account that I'm using right now here, if I want this account to be able to connect or communicate with my other accounts, my website, I have my domain name hosted on one of my accounts. So if I want this account to be able to communicate with that account, I'm going to need the IAM access, that secret access and secret key that I talked about earlier. And so that, which means that it's a principal. That's what we call a principal, right? And you can also, a principal could also be another service. So it can be like Lambda. You give Lambda permission to do certain function, or you give S3 permission to do certain function. These are all services I'm calling, probably you are not aware of. Don't worry, we're going to talk about them. And then it can be a role or it can be other entities. In terms of evaluation or authorization, a principal is defined as the entity that is allowed or deny access to a resource. So a principal, two things about the principal. You can either allow or you can deny the principal. So allow means, yes, I grant this person access to perform this particular task. Deny means, no, I don't want this person to perform this particular task. We might be able to, we are going to see this in effect. This is not just talking. I just want to go over this theory real quick, but we are going to see it in fact either today or tomorrow, wherein we are going to give access. So the first thing I explained the last time about like admin privilege. So I went over the skeleton of like what it looks like. Well, either today or tomorrow, we are going to revoke access from certain users, and then we try to have that user perform certain tasks and see what the result will be. IAM policy. So we talk about principal and now policy. IAM policies are JSON-based statements that define access control or permission. So again, JSON-based, what I mean by here, so if I go to, let's say this policy, so if let's say I open like this administrator access, so I'm not going to open it, but I just click on this plus. Again, I told you guys the last time, this is any policy that you see with this AWS logo, which means this is called managed policy. Managed policy because AWS owns this policy. It is not yours. So this is how the policy looks like. So this is what we are talking about here. Sorry, I make it too large. So this is what we are talking about here. So this is a policy. So this particular policy here, you see, as an administrator, it's kind of really short, you know, but this is the principle. The principle here is an effect, which is allowed. So it can either be allowed or denied. So you can either allow this one or you can deny it. The action is say everything and the resource is everything. So that's what makes that policy to be an admin policy. So on that principle, you have IAM principle can be inline or managed. So again, it can be either be, I'll talk about the AWS like the managed policy. So let's look at inline versus my internet is kind of like kind of slow. So this is one of the disadvantage of this cloud computing. Since you are accessing it via the internet, you are gonna at some point you experience connectivity issues. So AWS managed policy is a standard policy that is created and administered by AWS. Again, that was what I explained here, right here. So whenever you see this logo here, this cube, this is AWS logo. This is a managed policy. So it is managed policy because it is created and managed by AWS. A standalone policy means that the policy has its own Amazon resource name, which is ARN, that includes the policy name. For example, ARN blah blah blah. You know, it's an AWS managed policy. What about inline policy? So the custom policy, you can create standalone policy in your own AWS account that you can attach to principal entity, an IAM user, an IAM group, an IAM role. You can create this custom managed policy for the specific use case, and you can change and update them. So if you have a specific, let's say someone is coming to audit your account, but you don't want them to have any reading, right? You just want them to be able to list things. You can create a managed policy for that, because you don't want them to start going into your application and doing things and seeing things They only came for the auditing, so you give them privilege for that auditing. That's called least privilege. Least privilege means you are only giving access and permission to the entity based on their job function. So again, there is a likelihood that this particular one will come least privilege. You only give entities permission to, like, access to what they are going to need for them to be able to do their job. For example, if you are working in the bank, they are going to give you access to tools and resources that is going to make you do your job efficiently. But they are not going to give you a manager access to certain files. In fact, certain files in the bank, you are not going to be able to access because you don't have privilege. You only have privilege if you're a cashier. They give you access to files that are within the cashier, and that's what we'll talk about groups earlier. The group is based on your job category. Guys, this thing I'm talking about here, it's everywhere. Right now, as you are sitting there, it's there. Even the Google Classroom I put you in, that's the same thing. It has certain policy. There are things that I can do as an administrator or as an instructor that you cannot do as a student. Those are policies. You don't see them. It's because it's in the back end, but those are policies that Google set for that particular platform. So what is an inline policy? An inline policy is a policy created for a single IAM identity. So again, IAM is identity and access management. So when you create a policy, so everything that we've been doing earlier, you create a policy for just one user, that's called an inline policy. So it can be a user, a group, or a role. An inline policy maintains a strict one-to-one relationship between a policy and identity. So you are doing one-to-one relationship, right? So they give you a diagram here. Right? So this is just an example. For example, user Dev, and then Sarah, right? And then you have groups. So both Dev and Sarah are inside of this group. So this was what I was telling. So but this is the best practice. They are inside of this group called limited admin. And then this limited admin has an inline policy, policy limiting admin MFA, right? And so these two people, they are inside this group. And so they enjoy the privilege, whatever permission is attached to the group, instead of giving it to individual group members. Any questions so far?
So that means it's better to create a group first before doing individual access, right?
So
in the real world.
Yup, in the real world, you are already going to have your organization is already going to have that one, right? They are already going to have they are going to call it department, right? So they have like HR, IT, developers, programmers, engineers, different quality assurance or whatever, QA, they have these different like departments. Now, when they hire you, let's say they hire you, Jordan, as a system engineer or as a cloud engineer, instead of they give Jordan access, because as a cloud engineer, you have access. You have probably full access to do certain things because you're going to be creating things, you're going to be deleting things, right? They will not give you full access, but they will give you access that you'll be able to, that will allow you for you to do your job. Now, instead of giving you the access is given to that group. So when they hire you, they just add you to the group. Now, when they add you to the group, you inherit whatever permission that group has. That's what they're explaining here. So this is an example of, so we'll talk about this inline policy. So you guys should understand now the difference between managed policy. So the difference between a managed policy, a custom policy, which is this, and then an inline policy. So custom, you are creating it yourself. Inline, you don't necessarily have to create it yourself. You are just giving an individual permissions, or you are giving a group certain permission or certain privilege, or you are giving a role certain privilege or certain permissions. Whereas custom, you are actually building, it's the same permission, just like the other ones, only that you are managing it yourself. Because let's say the managed policy that AWS has, none of them fit your requirements. what you really want your employers to do. So your employees to do. So now you are going to create your own. That's why it's called custom, which means you can make it to fit your own needs. That makes sense, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. So again, I went over this one the last time, the policy, example of IAM policy. So the policy always starts with this format, version, and then this date, 2012, 10/17. That's like it's a lay down, it's a structure, it's a format, it's a template. You have to follow this. You cannot change this. And then when they talk about statement is like everything that's inside this block. So I'm gonna go to the console. Let me see what we have before I go into the console here. IAM policies. We'll talk about that. So they give you the use cases. When do you choose the inline policy versus managed policy? Use inline policy when you need to. One, so they might give you, this might come in an exam. When to apply inline policy to a user. You have a user coming in, what kind of policy do you apply to this user? So one, use inline policy if you need to enforce a strict one-to-one relationship between the policy and the principal. So if you want to, let's say, I'm going to give Daniel access, but I only want Daniel to be able to see the resources, but not to create any resources, not to delete any resources. Because if you put that in a group, it's going to apply to everybody in that group. Now, I only want Daniel. Since Daniel is coming to audit me, I only want Daniel to be able to list, which means Daniel should be able to see all the resources to make sure that we are meeting compliance. But I don't want Daniel to start poking into my application, start going to my EC2, start installing things, or start deleting things. So if you want, mostly when auditors are coming in, you want to use those inline policy. So once they finish their job, you revoke their policy. If you want to avoid wrong policy being attached to a principal, so if you feel like, oh, this person in this group, and if I attach this policy, other members within that group are going to benefit it, then you want to attach that to that individual, that specific policy. If you want to ensure the policy is deleted when deleting the principal, so if you put, let's say, everybody here, we are all in the same group, and then for some reason I was moonlighting, I wasn't doing my job, and then I got kicked, they kicked me out, right? If I had any policy, if the group has any policy, when they kick me out, that policy still remains because other members are in that group, they are going to enjoy that policy. But let's say I was given an admin and then I got fired. Now, so now you delete my role, it's going to delete the policy. So if that's what you want, then you use inline policy. You choose manage policy one for reusability. You want to reuse the policy. So again, it makes sense because you attach the policy to the group. So you don't have to worry about that anymore. Anytime you hire a developer, you put them in a developers group, you don't have to worry about the policy because the policy is already in existence. So if you want to reuse the policy, that's what they mean by reusability. Central change management. So if you want to have like a central change management, it's hard to manage these IAM users and group. And so you want to have a centralized system, a system that will allow you to make bulk changes and manipulations, versioning and rollback. So versioning, if you want to have like different versions and you want to roll back to a previous one and so all those kind of things, then you use manage policy. Delegation of permissions management. If you want to delegate certain permissions or certain tasks to a particular principal or entity, then you use manage policy. Automatic update of AWS managed policy, large policy size. So these are all things that are self-explanatory. So go through them and what, yeah. So there is also something called resource-based policy. To specify resource-based permission, you attach an inline policy to a supported resource, such as an Amazon SNS topic, an Amazon S3 bucket, an AWS KMS key, or an Amazon Glacier. So basically, this is like if you want like to give certain resources, certain privileges, and certain permissions, you use resource-based policies. So these are resources, you are giving them policies, right? So they have an example here. A resource-based policy must specify who is allowed to access the resource known as the principal. So you must specify that. So these are two examples. You have policy structure here. This one, the one on the left, on my left hand, is identity-based policy, and then the one on my right hand is resource-based policy. So if you look at the identity-based policy here, if you look at the identity-based, it's a policy, it's a statement, and then it's that effect, you know, so this is just the structure. They didn't put the actual information there, but it starts with a statement here, just like we see earlier, and then the effect, and then action, and then resources. So this is where you put the ARN. So the ARN is just Amazon resource name. So you put the ARN here. So I will show you the ARN just in a minute. And then you put the condition. What kind of conditions are you going to put? You know, and then the key. What are the key value? It's almost similar to this the same thing here. Only that here you have what they call PARC and statement, effect, principal. So here you have to specify the principal, and then action, and then resource. Again, the same ARN, and then condition and condition. So you see, the only difference here, if you take a look at here, is here you have to, under the resource base, you have to specify the principal. That was what they were saying here. Resource-based policy must specify who is allowed to access the resource, known as the principal. So here, under the resource-based policy, you have to specify this, you know. So if they ask you in an interview, what are the difference between a resource-based policy and identity-based policy, these are the difference, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. What are the key difference? With identity-based policy, the principal is implicit. So implicit, so identity-based policy here, the principal is implicit. So that implicit means, you know, it's implied. You are not going to be, it's not going to be specific. We are not stating here. That's why we see here, it's not stated here. But for the resource-based policy, the principal is explicit. Explicit, you have to state who is this principal, who is allowed to perform this function under the resource-based policy. So remember, that's a big difference. They will ask you what is implicit allow and implicit deny. They will ask you those questions. So resource-based is explicit. And then identity-based is implicit. Implicit means it's implied. So if I tell you, again, if we go to English language, talk about grammar, if I say shut the door, right? And then they actually say, what is the subject in that? You know that, okay, shut the door, the subject is implied because it means you shut the door, right? And so it's the same thing here also for identity-based or similar thing. I don't know if that analogy makes sense, but it just makes sense here. You know, the principal is implied under identity-based, whereas in the resource-based, the principal is explicitly stated. So you must state the principal here. With resource-based policy, the principal is explicit. I already explained that. So this is how it evaluates. By default, the decision is default deny. So by default, when you create a principal, they deny them access. You have to explicitly add permissions to them. So when we create a user, we can create a user without any permission. By default, that's how it is. So by default, they don't have any permission. But you can allow either two things. Either you allow or deny. And allow override any default denies. So if you have an allow, it's going to override any default deny. An explicit deny override any allow. So if you don't state, if you say allow, by default, it will override any deny that is there. But if you explicitly say deny, it's going to override any allow. So remember, this one, all you need to know is explicit. If you allow, it's going to, by default, it's going to deny anything else. If you explicitly, if you state in your policy statement, say deny, it's going to deny, it's going to trump over any allow statement. In other words, the order in which the principles are evaluated is not important. So here, this is what happened here. So a decision starts at deny. So by default, it's just going to be deny. AWS resources, all policies associated with the user and resources. Only policies that match the action and conditions are evaluated. So this is what will go. It will start here from deny, and then it will go number 2, evaluate all applicable policies. So to go through and scan the policies and see, okay, in this policy, what do I have here? And then go to number 3, is there any explicit deny? Did this account user explicitly say this EC2 should not be able to create any other EC2, or this user should not create any resources? If it is yes, then it's going to go final decision is denied. If you explicitly say that. If the answer is no, then it's going to go forward. Is the IAM user allowed? If the answer is yes, then that will be the final decision. Access is granted. If the answer is no, if you look at this policy that we were looking at earlier, this policy, if you say no, and so here I say allow, if you say no here, then this is what will happen. If you say no, then it's going to deny it by default, right? So an explicit, you got to remember, an explicit deny trump and implicit allow. Privilege escalation, say any principal with full IAM permission is effectively a super user. So any principal with full IAM permission is effectively a super user. So you are going to see this when we start doing like Linux, we are going to be doing like say super user do and all those things. But when you give them admin privilege, they become, we call it super user, which means they can perform administrative privileges. They can do bunch of things. When you create the AWS account initially, that's called the root user account. The root mean it's just like the root of a tree. It's like the base, that's what is holding the tree. And that's why I was telling you, best practice is you don't use your root user account. Create an IAM user for yourself. You can call yourself admin and then give yourself administrative privilege, because the root user account is more powerful than the admin account. So any principal with full admin permission is effectively a super user, even if no other principal have been granted. Why? The principal can modify its own permission at any time. So again, if you look at the work that we did, if you do an admin privilege or admin access, you can see that you can also you can even modify your own access because you have that privilege. To prevent this, deny access to at least the IAM action. So if you want to stop that admin user from like changing their own access, in fact, best practices, you want to limit the privilege even from the admin, right? So you can basically deny access to certain resources. You can say, you know what, I want you to have full privilege for certain resources, but I don't want you to do this to this account or something. So you can do that. So there is this, there's a policy simulator that we'll take a look at next maybe in the demo. Basically, when you create a policy, it can help you to see like if the policy is working. If you define say deny, it will tell you that okay, this policy is denied. If you say allow, it will tell you. So we'll take a look at the policy simulator on the internet. So there is also a policy generator. So all these things that you see here, these policies here, this one that you see here, you can generate your own. And that's one of the things that we're going to do today. Okay, that's all for the talking. So we're not going to talk about these ones for now, this identity federation. We'll talk about it maybe later. So let's jump into the demo. But before I jump into the demo, do you guys have any question? I know that was I breezed through that. But any question?
None from me.
Okay,
Okay.
I have a quick question. So,
Yes.
just to clarify,
Mm-hmm.
so you said the user for under the IAM user, so
Mm-hmm.
the group, the user and the role is the same thing.
It's not the same, but it's similar. It's
Okay.
not the same. So the user here, so the IAM user, an IAM user is an identity with long-term credentials that is used to interact with AWS in an account. So that's just the definition here. If you click at role, so again, guys, so if you see here, this one say info. So if you click on this info, it will pull a page here and will give you like what these things are, right?
Okay, okay.
Yeah, so that's why I really love, I'm not saying that I'm not going to talk bad about other cloud providers. AWS is what I'm really really good at. And so but I like that because of their documentation. They have like they make it very very seamless efforts, you
Oh,
know. So but it say a role is an IAM identity that you can create in your account that has specific permissions. An IAM role has some similarities with IAM user. So it has similarity, but they are not the same, because when you say things are the same, it's different when you say things are similar, right? They are just similar, but they are not the same. Role and user are both IAM identity with permission policies that determine what the identity can do, what the identity can and cannot do in AWS. However, instead of being uniquely associated to a person, a role can be assumed by anyone who needs it. So remember, so they give you the distinction here. They give you similarity from here, role, and so this explain about the similarity, and then they say however. So this explain the difference here, right?
yeah.
Does that answer your question, Messi?
Yeah. Now I kind of understand what you mean. So role is different. Just
Yeah,
that they can do something similar, but they are not the same thing.
they are not the same. That's correct.
So the group, so what about the group? Because you talk about the group. So the group is like when you like you give an example about in a company when you give a instead of giving individual permission, you now do
Mm-hmm.
that in a group. So once you give the that group a permission, so anybody that is allowed to use that group has access to those things in the group.
Yeah. Let me just, that's correct. That's correct. Let me just give you, let's do some diagram here.
Okay.
Let me go back and just create material. Just gonna do a little bit of diagram. I like it. Sometimes it's nice to visualize, you know, things. So let's say, okay, let it just finish loading. Okay, so I'm gonna give an example here. So let's say, this is your user, right? So this user here is a standalone. You gave this user a policy, a permission, you know, like admin policy and all those sort of things. Yeah, so you can do that, but AWS is encouraging you to have something like this, right? You can have something like this. And then you can take this user and put this user in here. And then you can even, sorry, that went away. Let's say, yeah, so you can have like, so this is like a group, let's say, copy. Not gonna paste anyway. But so basically this one I explained here. So you can have, that's one user that you have, and then you have another user again, and then you have another user, and then so these are, you have three users. Let's say you have three users, and these users can be like employees, right? So you have them in this group, where this group you can directly attach policy to the entire group, to this entire group here, instead of individual access. So this individual, let's say this individual is right here. This individual is standing on their own. So this is like the inline, right? You attach a policy directly to this individual. But when this individual leave, you are gonna, when you remove this individual from your organization, it goes with the whatever privilege or permission they have. That's not really efficient, because it means that every time you hire someone, when they leave, you have to start all over again. That's not best practice. Remember, cloud computing is all about efficiency, right? And so to avoid that, you create a group and then attach a policy to that group. So whenever you hire this person, all you need to do, bring them inside this group. And now, if this group has admin privilege, all three of them can have admin privilege. They can do this, they can have administrator privilege. The problem is, let's say you don't want this other user A, you don't want them to have certain privilege for certain resources, even though they have admin. But if once they are in this group, you are not going to be able to change that. The only way you can change it again, you can have another policy and that deny access to certain resources and attach that policy to this group. But again, remember, it's going to affect not just this one user, it will affect everybody. Now, how you do that, you can attach a policy directly to this user and restrict them from accessing certain resources if that's what you want. I don't know if this makes sense, or it gives more understanding. Okay, so does it make sense, Mercy?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so let's jump into, let's create, so you guys at this time now, you have, let me minimize, do this a little bit. Okay, so at this point you guys have, so I have one user right now. I'm gonna create an admin user really quick. And then I'm gonna just to go one more, to create a user one more time. Okay, so this user I'm gonna create, just to create the user, you just click here, create user, and then I'm gonna call this admin. And then I'm gonna give console access. Console access is just, this user should be able to access like the AWS console. Like, I mean, when they talk about console, it's just this account. And then again, I've already talked about this the last time. So we're gonna create IAM user, and then the password is gonna be auto-generate. I'm gonna leave it so you can custom it. You can put a password that you feel like it want, but it has to be a strong password. And the user, it will prompt the user, if you do this checkbox, to change the password upon the creation, or upon the force signing. When they force sign in, it will prompt them, it will force them, not only prompt them, it will force them to change the password, their password. So I'm just going to use this auto-generate. Auto-generate, it means that AWS is going to create a dummy password for us, which we'll change later. So I'll go next. So we already covered all these parts. So we are going to use, so here, let's say I have a group now. Actually, before I do this, let's go back. Let's go back. Instead of doing this, let's create, or let's just create this user. Let's just create this user. So this user, we're going to leave it like this. We're going to leave it like this for now. Just say attach policy directly. We're not going to attach any policy right now. We're just going to create this user. So the user is being created. So I'm going to return to, so you see, you have not viewed or download and this password. So so remember, guys, this is what I was telling you about, right? So it said the password, they created a password for this user. And this user, this password, if we don't download this CSV file, so you have to download this CSV file. So this file contains the credentials that this user will use to access this account, their account. Or you can email them with this, you can email them, put their email in here, and then it will send them notification, right? If you don't download, or the other thing that you can do, you can copy. You can copy the password. You can click here, show, and then you can copy the username, put it on a clipboard or keep it somewhere. If you don't do those three things, either you email, you download the CSV file, or you copy the password. If you don't do that, and then you go to return, you click on this return, you are not going to be able to see that password again, right? Okay, so that's just user. So this user right now doesn't have any permission. So this user cannot do anything. These are just like ordinary user. They have no permission, right? They cannot do anything. So we are going to put them in a group. We are going to create a group. To create a group, very simple. So just say create group and then give it a name. So I'm just going to give it admin or administrate. Yeah, just say admin. And then, so you see right now, it just gave me 2 users here to add them on this. Asking me to, do I want to add them? So I'm going to select both. So I'm going to add them, and then asking me for policy. So I'm going to attach administrator full access. So to attach that, you just click on this one here, and then you go down. So if you want to give them any other access, but the admin access is good enough. Let's say you want to only give them EC2 full access. So you can type EC2, and then you'll be able to see EC2 full access here, which means they'll have access to EC2. They can do anything to EC2. So if you look at this EC2 full access policy here, this is what the policy is very long here. So you can see it has the policy statement. It has the version, and then it says action, it says EC2. And then it says effect, allow, resource, everything about EC2, right? And then effect, allow, blah, blah, blah. So these are all the things that I can do. Auto scale. So you see, so you are not just saying EC2, but you are also naming the services, right? So if they make so you can have multiple effect statements. So you see what is happening here, guys. You see this? It's written in JSON. It is written, this is called JSON. It is written in JSON. So we have the allow. So let's see how many resources I can do. So elastic load balancing, CloudWatch, auto scaling, create service link role, IAM create service link role, and then auto scaling, EC2, or what? So it has all these permissions. So that's the EC2 full access. If we give that permission, I'm just gonna give full access. So when I say full access, the admin access here, I select everything. So for this one, we're just going to say admin. So that group, we are going to give the admin group. So we're going to say create. It's very, okay. So it say a group name with this, a group with this name already exists. So it says, so I'm just, okay, let me see if that one will work. Okay. So the group has been created, and inside this group, we have this user. So if we go to groups, again, we click on groups, or maybe click on users and then click on groups again. So you can see that there are 2 groups here. So before I've created one group, this is 1 year ago that I created this group. So I have another group here. This is the recent one that I've created, So in this group, if we go into this group, I have these two users here. Now, let's say I have someone, I'll just create this access for them, and then I'll add them into this group. And so whatever, instead, I'm not giving them permission directly. So you saw I created this user. When I created this user, I did not specify any permission for that user. When I created this user does not have any permission. So if you can see here, it doesn't have any permission. You see, it doesn't have any permission. So let's say the only permission, it's only enjoying the permission from the group. So you see, group. By themselves, they don't have any permission. They don't. So I want you to remember that, okay? So that is group. And then we have policies. So policy, I already explained this part. So this one is called manage policy. All this one by default, you see this manage policy. There are a lot of them. So you can see here, it's up to, there is a lot of them, a lot of policies, right? So you can say you have custom policy, customer manage policy, AWS manage job function, and then AWS manage policy. So this is AWS manage policy. And then if you click on AWS job function, so this is based on the job, like for example, billing, right? If you are HR or you are responsible for billing, then you give this. So you see this billing, if you click on billing, if you expand billing, it will tell you like what this person has. They have access to the billing. They can do a lot of things here. So you see, so that's billing. And then if you are administrator, you have this, and then database administrator. So just based on the job function. So AWS, this is a managed policy that AWS created for specific job functions. Okay. And then the other one on the list is manage policy. So manage policy, this is a managed policy. Like this one, I have deny underscore poly, and then deny policy. So like this policy here, this is a managed policy. I can edit this, right? So because it's a managed policy, I can edit it. Because it's a policy that I created. So I can edit that policy if I want to. I can say deny. So here I can say, hey, I want to deny access, right? Okay, I want to allow access, right? I can do that. So you can create your own policy. So you can say create policy.
So do you just copy the method Amazon used to do their own, and you just change the words? Is that how you create?
Yes. Well, so you can copy that, or you can generate it yourself. So that's what we are doing right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you're typing it in English, right? You're not using codes.
No, so everything is just like you click, and then it will put it in that code force for you.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, I'm gonna go back where I was. So again, you are here. Hold on. Let me go back here. So again, we're here. If you want to create, manage, custom policy, don't leave it all and then create. Just say, so custom manage policy, and then you can click on create, or you can just click on play. So when on this page here, it says service. So now you can specify what service do you want to create this policy for, right? So here you can select from the drop down if you want like EC2, IAM, Lambda, all the policies, all the things that AWS has. So all the resources, so you can create policies for each resource. So let's say we want to create a policy for let's say we want to create policy for, let's just say EC2, right? So you select EC2 and then just give it a little bit. And then it will ask you here, allow action allowed, specify actions from service to be allowed. So again, we look at that policy earlier. Let me open. So if I just really quick expand this, so you see allow. So that's what it's saying here. Allow. So it's asking us allow. So you can say all EC2 actions. So if I click on this, say all EC2 actions, which means I'm giving full access, right? So all EC2. So you see, it's telling me like these are all the things that this person can do. This principal can do with this policy, right? So I can select here. I say list, so you can list like different. So all the things that see, they are all gray. And you can, if you want to do it in JSON format, so you can change that to JSON. So you see, you can change it to JSON so it will look like this. But if you want to leave it visual, you can leave it visual. So let's say EC2. So let's say we want. So again, we've not talked about this, the read and write permission. So this is where you can say, okay, these are the resources. Do I want to describe account attributes? So you can check everything here. Now, if you don't want the user to have some of this information or have access to some of this information, then you don't select this one that say all. But so see, if we select, when I select all here, and then these are grayed out because we've selected everything, which means this user is going to have like a full access, and then the resource, specified resource ARN for this action. So you can specify, for example, you can say create reservation. You can say elastic IP. So there are a lot of groups, image, there are a lot of things here. But if you want the user to have all, to specify all resources, then you can specify, say, the all wildcard may be overlay permissive for the selected action, allowing specific ARN for this service resource can improve security. So AWS is warning you. Say, hey, what you've selected, you say everything, all resources. It says that's too much to give to this user. So AWS is warning you here, right? So that's why best practice, like in the real world, they will not select unless if that user absolutely need this for them to be able to do their job. If that user is doing everything like deleting, creating, check whatever, then you give all permission. But AWS is warning you here. It said that's excessive permission that you are giving to this particular entity. And then, so we're going to leave it just like that for now. You can also have the user to have like MFA, multi-factor authenticator or authentication. So you can have them. I'm not going to do that. Request from IP, filter access by the register's IP address. So if you just want them to be able to access like the specific IP address, that you can put that. And then you can have another condition. So if you click on here, condition, so you can have other condition. For example, if you have, let's say you want this admin access, so you can add other conditions here. So you can, just select anything here. Any of these other VPC, EC2 VPC, and all those kind of things. These are all resources that you can, other conditions that you can have. But I'm not going to do that since this is just a demo. And then let's see, we'll go next. And then it's going to say name, and then we are just going to say my custom policy. And then you can give a description here. This is optional, but it's always good to put a description just to see like if someone else is looking at this policy, they know like what you did. And then permission definition. So that one is just easy to say. See right now I say full access resource, everything. So you can add a tag if you want to. And then from there, we're just going to create. So now we have created our own managed policy. So if you go to manage, customer manage, so you can see here my policy is right here. My custom policy. So if I click on, if I expand it, so you see, it's pretty much similar to the one that we saw earlier. Only that, so it's similar to the managed policy that AWS. So this one, you see, it's similar. Only that AWS specify here say allow, and then AWS here say, because this is administrator access, it say everything. So whenever you see a wildcard, again, I'm repeating this one can come in a test. Whenever you see this, the wildcard, it means that everything. It means, so when we were creating this user earlier, that was the warning AWS was telling, hey, you are giving access to everything here. You know, if I want, I can change this. Instead of EC2, I say just put a wildcard here. So it say EC2 here, and then it put this wildcard here, which means everything about EC2 and all resources. Again, best practice, don't do this unless if you have to. Okay, so that is, we'll talk about IAM user, IAM policy. What about IAM role? So again, it's pretty much, again, you grant access to like other resources and all those kind of things. So we're gonna just create a role. So on that role, when you are creating a role, it's gonna ask you AWS services. Are you creating this for AWS services? Are you creating this for AWS accounts? Align entities in other AWS accounts. Again, I gave an example earlier. If I have up to 4 or 5 AWS accounts. If I want one of the accounts to communicate with other accounts, then I will choose AWS account. If I want for a web identity, so allow users federated by the specified entity, external web identity. So an example is like Cognito. Cognito is like a federated services. Again, we're going to talk about like what federation means. Let's say when you are logging in, majority of the time, that's why I said this, what you are doing, even if you don't get a job, this knowledge that you are learning, it's going to be a knowledge that you are not going to regret, because everything that you are learning are things that you have already been doing, but you don't know like what was happening in the back end. So have you ever think about like when you want to sign in into like maybe Google or maybe your favorite shopping store, you want to log in, and then they ask you, do you want to sign in with Google? Or do you want to log in with Microsoft? So they ask you sometimes those questions, right? Well, it's because that is called federation. So let's say AWS, you want to log into the account, and then AWS said, you want to log in with your Google account. So that's called federation, because AWS is, so sometimes organization, it's hard to manage user access. And so they put that responsibility, they give that responsibility to other applications or other entities, like other organizations, you know? So like Facebook, do you want to log in with your Facebook account? Do you want to log in with your Instagram? So sometimes those are called federated services. One big one is Cognito, that can manage like user access. Many of you probably you've heard about Okta, right? Okta is another federated service. You've heard about single sign-on. Again, it's also a federated service. You've heard about Microsoft Active Directory, Microsoft AD, which is now called Microsoft Entra. So you've been interacting with this. If you are working in any big institutions like banks or other places, you've been using these services. So for this one, we can just leave that AWS. We're not gonna use this anyway. So, and then use case, what use case do you want to use? So this is where they were telling you. So the role, you give it to like other applications. So you see, you have all these other applications. So basically, if you give this permission to any of these applications, they are gonna function just like a human being to access other services. All right, guys, we gotta keep to our plan. It's 6:30, so we are gonna take a break, and then we are gonna come back at 6:45. Okay, I'm gonna pause the recording. Okay, so yeah, so we are gonna just select AWS services, and then under use case, this is where you're going to select what service do you want to give this role to, right? So sometimes you're going to use it as assume role. So if you want this service to, let's say you want Lambda, right? So you will select Lambda, and then Lambda will have access, will give this this policy or this role to Lambda. So Lambda is going to function just as if it's a person. And then what kind of privilege or permission do you want Lambda? What do you want Lambda to do? So let's say we give Lambda, so you can type, you say LAN. So you can say Lambda full access. Let's say if you want full access for Lambda again, we've taken a look at this policy. By now, you guys should be able to talk about like what the different policy. So basically, this full Lambda full access is gonna create. These are all the things that we can do. A lot of things when you give full access. That's why they tell you don't just grant full access unless if you are sure that you want that user to have full access. And so we are going to call this Lambda full access. And then it just automatically put the description for us. So it's always good to put a description, because then that will explain like what the policy is doing. If someone is looking at this, they will know, okay, so this is what this policy is going to be doing from looking at it. And so we're going to create. So in fact, I'm going to have everybody to create this role, role for Lambda, because we're going to use Lambda probably tomorrow or so. Everybody needs, so that's going to be I want like in class work. So I want everybody to create this policy. So I'm going to give you guys like a few minutes. I'm going to give you guys like 10 minutes. I want you to create this policy on your own. Once you are done, let me know. So everybody creates a Lambda, create a policy, a role. I want you to create a role and then call that role Lambda, just like this one. Call that role Lambda. And then grant Lambda admin full access, like Lambda full access. Who wants to share their screen? Jordan, are you there? Mercy, I know you were having difficulty earlier with sharing.
Yeah, I don't. Let me try if I can share mine.
Okay, let me stop sharing, because I think that was what happened. That's why the recording. I will stop sharing my own screen, and then you can share your screen. So I'll pause. I'm gonna pause this recording just until you share, and then just so that it's not that unnecessary. So to create a role again, just to go over again, click create role, and then just leave everything as default, AWS services. So just leave that as it is. And then under the use case, that's where you're going to specify what service. And for this, you are going to select Lambda. You're not going to select EC2, just select Lambda. And there's a reason why we are doing this, because the next topic that we're going to talk about, it's going to be there. So select Lambda. So I'm not going to create because I already have one. And then go next. And then just type Lambda again. So if you type LAMB, you should see AWS Lambda full access. So AWS, so just select that one and then go next. So once you go next and give it a name, and I want you to call it Lambda with the start with, so type it like LAMBDA and then FULL, full ACCESS, Lambda full access. So something like that. So that's how I want you to call this role. Okay? So do that. I'm not gonna do this. Once you are done, you finish that, you don't need to put anything else. So for me, it says the role already exists, so I'm not gonna create it. But once for you, it's not gonna say that. So once you put that, don't put on the description, just leave it as it is, and then go to create role. Okay? So I'm gonna cancel this one.
Danny,
Yeah.
Done.
I'm sorry. Where will I start from here? Because I just came into the class. I came in late and then
So I
You
just
go
went
to
over
roles, create role.
that. So again, you are here. I'm just gonna
Can I
cancel.
share? Sorry, can I share my screen?
Yeah, share your screen.
And that way I can share screen.
So I really want, guys, I really want this. This is gonna be a hands-on. It's you gotta do this. Otherwise, you're gonna finish this class and you're gonna be like, Daniel, you say you're gonna, I don't know anything. I'm like, it's really gonna be up to you. I'm doing my best to make sure that you guys are getting the best here. But you, just like any other class, for you to be able to excel and know what you are doing, you gotta make sure you do those assignments. I'm not gonna be behind your back. Everybody's an adult here, but do those assignments, and then participate in a class. Whatever exercise I'm doing, try. If I'm going too fast, I want you to stop me. You are paying money for this. Say, hey, Daniel, you are going too fast. Slow down. I don't want us to slow because we have a lot of stuff to cover, but I also don't want to go too fast that you are not able to understand what we are talking about here. Azu, can you open your AWS? We are seeing your LinkedIn right now. Can you open AWS?
I already finished mine, just so you know.
Okay, good job. Good job.
Same here.
Okay, good job, Messi. So you want to log in? Do you know the account ID? If you don't need an account ID, just log in as a root user. So you see, it says sign in using root user credentials or use root user email. Yeah, you gotta select one of those. You gotta select that authentication. Yeah, so I want you to set that up. You don't have to. We already went over this. This is MFA. It wants you to do that. If you have a fingerprint. So Azu, can you stay after class so I can go over this with you?
Yeah.
For mine, I skip it too. I didn't do anything.
Well, I want you to, so again, I want you to follow best practice. I want you to create that MFA. We went over that the last time, right? If you still have issues or if you still don't know how to do it, stay after class. I'll spend some time to go over it again.
Okay.
All right. So as can you stop sharing because I want us to keep moving. Okay.
Okay.
We'll
Okay.
go over it. All right. Okay. So yeah. So the reason why we are creating this Lambda function is because we are going to be using this Lambda. Hold on. We are going to be using Lambda to perform for it to do certain things for us. So that's why I want us to use the lambda function, okay? All right, so we talk about pretty much everything here. There are a lot of things under this IAM, so you can explore it, but we've talked about the main important ones, the basic. That's what you need to understand right now. Other things here, I'm not saying don't read them. Read them, watch this, go to this page on the left hand under the dashboard. Try to know what they are, so you have access analyzer, external access, user access, and all those kind of things, but what you really need to focus is this one: IAM user, IAM group, IAM role, IAM policy. So if under identity provider is just like what I was explaining earlier. So right now I don't have any identity provider, but if I click on add identity provider, I'll have like some SAML, serverless application model or something, and then you have like OpenID Connect or this. So you can have like different. This one, I was telling you guys about federated services earlier. So this I was telling you about, but we don't need to spend time on that anyway. We can talk about it at some other time. So the one thing I want to go over again that I went over during the class, during the short video I made yesterday, I want to repeat it again. Here is, so we created a user earlier. I think it's admin. So this user does not have any access key right now. So if you see here, it says access key 0, there's nothing there, right? So if for the user, again, if we go to that slide, we talk about access key, that it is this key, this access key, whatever we create here, that is what is going to allow us to be able to go into the internet. Not the internet, to be able to connect with other applications or other services. So let's create one. I'm going to go over with creation. So when you are on this page where it says permission, you can see it here. If you have one, it will say it here. If you don't have it, if you see nothing here, then you don't have it. So to also see if you have it, click on security credentials. And then under security credentials, this is basically where you will find a lot of the information related to security. So you can see MFA, assign MFA device. So like this account right now, this user that I have, this admin user, I have not assigned an MFA to this user yet. And then this user the MFA is not assigned. Access key, it says 0. So we don't have any access key right now. It's a use access key to send programmatic calls. So there is this thing we call API calls, right? Which is application programming interface. So it's just like anytime you go on Google, you start typing on something. When you click enter, there's an API sitting in front of the applications that are going to take your request, and then it's going to look for the best, like what you have asked for and how to get those information. So that's API. It's almost like load balancing, but it's not load balancing. So we make calls. So every time you go, for example, if I type EC2 on this search bar here, it's a call that we're making. It's an API call. They call that API call, right? So for you to be able to make programmatic call like API calls, you have to have like this access key for you to be able to communicate with other resources. This is not the only one. So you have SDK, API, calls and all those kind of things. But you need to have this skill. So for example, we are going to be using Terraform. For Terraform, if you don't have this, you are not going to be able to use Terraform. So I want you to really, really watch what I'm doing. In fact, I want you to create, instead of logging in with your root user account, like with your email, the email that you created, the other assignment I'm going to give today is to create an admin user. Call a user admin, or create a group call. Anyway, I'll have that posted after this class. So right now, we're just going to create the access key. So to create the access key, just click on create access key. And then you have different options here. You have command line interface. If you plan to use this access key to enable AWS CLI to access your AWS account, then you select this first one. If you plan to use this for local code, so you plan to use this access key to enable application code in a local development environment to access your account, then so locally, like if it's on your machine, right, then you select this one. If you want to use this for application running on AWS compute services like EC2, Lambda, then you select this one. If you want to use it for a third party, so third party, like if you want to integrate with Terraform, on Jenkins, on all those things, then you select this one. If you want to run this outside of AWS, then you select this one also. So you have different options here. So for now, I'm just gonna, for this user, I'm just gonna say CLI. So probably for when you create the user, I want you to use CLI at the command line interface. I want you to use that one. You can either use CLI or third party, okay? So CLI or third party. And then you have to acknowledge. So Amazon is telling you that there are other alternative options that you can use. You can use Cloud Shell or you can use AWS CLI version 2. So we're just gonna do that description, just leave it like that, and then you say create access key. You guys are seeing my screen, right?
Yeah.
You're seeing what I'm doing, okay. So again, just the same thing I told you guys about the password. You are only going to see, especially this secret key, you only see it one time. I'm repeating, you only see this one time. Only one time. Jordan, you went over this last week, I remember. You created this and you have to download this. You have to download this. And then they actually say access key best practice. So remember these 4 things here. The best practice. This might come in exam. Best practice, never store your access key in plain text, in a code repository or in a code. So again, what they are telling you about that, let me see if I have my VS Code here up running. Plain text is just like when you have it in the code. So anybody can see it, you know. Let me see if I have, so I have a file here. So this is a Terraform file. So you see, I don't have my access key here. I have detect. So I created a profile. So usually you have the access key here. Instead of this profile, you have the access key and secret key here. So this is what they call hard coding. This is called plain text. These things that you are seeing, this is plain text because anybody can read this. Now, AWS is telling you never store your access key in plain text or in a code. You can store it in a repository. You can store it in a vault. You can store it in like somewhere, but don't put it in a code, because if someone gets a hold of that code, they are gonna get into your system and your system is gonna be compromised. That's a security. You have a security breach. Disable or delete access key when no longer needed. So if you are not using, let's say, on your agency, if someone quits, they will revoke or delete their access. So because you don't want after they quit and then the next time, remember, they start going to your application and start doing malicious things just because they are pissed at you, right? So make sure you disable or delete the access key. Enable list. So this was what I was telling you guys, list privilege permission. So only give access to people to things that they are going to need for them to do their job. This is called list privilege. I want you to remember this. Now, when we talk about like security, like cyber security, there is a concept also so kind of similar but not the same. They call it zero tolerance, zero trust, right? So by default, I will assume that everybody on this call is a criminal. By default, that's how you assume that everybody is coming to get me until proved otherwise. That's called zero trust. Don't trust anybody. That's security. Some organization has zero trust. Even the CEO, they will limit their access. So you only give permission to people for what they are going to be needing for them to be able to do their job. Okay. And then rotate access key regularly. So usually for some organizations, it's like every 90 days, they say change your password. Some organization 90 days is 3 months. Yeah. So best practice. So remember these best practices, okay? So the access key, so I'm not gonna show you my access key. Maybe I'm gonna continue to use this user. So I'm just gonna click on, I'm gonna click on download CSV. So it's gonna download it on my computer, and then I will have it. So when I click done, if you don't download it or copy it somewhere, you will never see that. I will repeat that. So it's now, you see, I have one, I have here, it's a active. It's a never use created today. So we'll never use it just created today. But look what it says here under the access. So it didn't even give us any information about the secret key. So because that information, you only see it one time. Only one time. So I don't want you to call me, hey, Daniel, I don't see my secret key, because you have to download it or you have to copy it and paste it somewhere. Now, if you don't remember where it is, you can basically just come here and delete it and create another one. It's not a big deal. But follow best practice. Okay? So that's all for today. So I can show you like the CSV file that I have. So that's not the one. That was for the user that I created yesterday. So this is no longer valid. But if I go to my stuff, my download, you guys are seeing my screen, right? Are you guys seeing my screen?
Yeah, now,
Darling.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the file I just downloaded, this admin. So if I double click on it here, I'll just delete this user because I'm going to show you guys. I'll just delete it once it's finished because I don't want someone to start going. You gotta maintain that zero trust. But assume that anybody that you come in contact with is going to be malicious. Just assume that until they prove otherwise. Don't feel sorry at all. Don't feel bad for that. Just that's how it is now. So you see, I have it here. So if I expand this here, you can see here I have I'm showing you this because I'm going to delete it at the end of the day. But you see it here, I have my access key and secret key here. These are really important information. So if I ask you for your access key or access key, you just come and copy this. And then for your secret key, you just come and copy this. So you are going to need this information going forward. So it's really important. Okay. So that's so far about access key. So what I'm going to do, actually, I'm going to delete it now, just so that if you want to go, you won't. So that one is going to be deleted. As you can see, just give it a minute. And once it's deleted, once you delete it, you will not be able to see it again, right? So basically, I just delete the entire user, right? You don't have to delete the entire user, but just for security reasons, I'm going to do that because I can create it at any time. So that's a little bit on, that's IAM. So that's all I want you to understand about IAM. So the next thing we're going to go into, but before I move forward, any question about IAM, anything that you don't understand that you want me to explain better? So discussion time, I'll give like maybe 5 minutes for discussion. Any question? No question, no concern. Is it clear? Is it understandable? Are you getting the information? Are you understanding? That's really what I'm asking. Are you understanding the concept?
Yeah.
Mercy, that was a dragon, yeah. It's a lot of information, but do you understand? Do you have questions? Is there something that you want me to explain more?
For now, I'm okay. I'm fine.
Okay.
So, yeah, for now, because just like you said, the hands-on is going to really bring out if we, yeah.
And also just follow watch the recording.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, guys. If there is no question or any queries, then we're gonna move on. So I told you guys I want us to talk about one important thing also. which is going to be billing. That's really important. I know some of you have been saying that, hey, I've been paying for these services and I don't even know why. So I want us to make sure this class, I'm going to make sure you don't pay unnecessary money to AWS. AWS doesn't care as long as you are using their services there. That's how cloud computing. It's not just AWS. They are assuming that you are using their services, you are renting their services, so therefore you have to pay, even if you were just practicing. Someone was telling me that they spend up like $4,000 because they leave some resources on, and then they have to go, and I think it was I brought a guest speaker the last time, and it was explaining that. I don't want that to happen to you guys, man. Things are hard right now, you know. So if you are following with me, just type billing, B-I-L, or you can type billing and it can come up, right? It can come up here. If my internet, so you should be able to see billing, billing and cost management, but you can also access it like on your profile. I think you can go to your profile. You can access it again on your profile here. You know, so if you click on that, it should take you to the billing page. So I'm just going to walk you guys through this, and then we'll do a demo on this billing. So basically, the demo is going to be, we are going to create an alarm. You're going to set an alarm on your AWS account that's going to notify you whenever your bills exceed certain amounts. So for example, for me, I have my AWS account will notify me if my bill exceeds like $10 or $5. I will get a message say, hey, you've exceeded your limit. So now I will go to my account and I'll be like, okay, what am I paying for? I don't remember I have any, maybe I forgot something, and then I will delete it. So just go to billing. When you're on billing, this is how your page is going to look like. And this is where you can see like, okay, what did I pay last year? You know, this is where you are going to set like your bills. If you want to check your bill, your payments plan. If you want to check like your bill for last month, your bill for this month, it's all going to be on this page here. So you can see it can give you like this bill information here. And then so if for this account, if I go to like, let's say, let me go back all the way like 2024, let's say November. Let me go to November and see how much so it looks like in November, there was nothing, I didn't use this account, there was no bill. Let me see. What about June? Yeah, so I didn't really do, so you see, I created this account, but I never use anything. I make sure I deleted everything. So there is zero. But if there's something here, you will see it here. And then under the services, it will tell you, it will break it down like what services you are paying for. And for example, if you have EC2, all those things, it will tell you like what you are paying for each service. So to give you a breakdown here. To give you a breakdown. And then you have like, if you want to change your address, if you want to check like to calculate like how much like the service, like what service you are doing, you can do billing calculator. So it can tell you like what services, like how much you will be spending on each services, you know, like that you are using. Yeah, so you can create price rules. So basically okay, so that's the wrong one. Cost category. But you can do a lot of explore here, the free tier, Cost Explorer. So this is the one, Cost Explorer. Like this Cost Explorer would tell you, I've actually been interviewed and asked questions about Cost Explorer, you know. So sometimes they will ask you like, okay, how do I know like the services that I'm paying for, how much they cost and all those kind of things. So this Cost Explorer helps you to understand like the different services that you know that are available to you and what they cost, right? So if I have like any services running, it will tell me here what those services cost. Right now I have zero. No, I don't have any services that are on my account. The IAMs that we create, you can have a lot of IAMs. AWS, those are free. They are not charging you for them. So those are free services, you know. Okay, so in the classroom, there's a demo that I have on how to create. I think it's under security. So this budget, how to create a budget. So if you go there, it'll give you instruction. You sign into Management Console, go to AWS Management Console, sign in, and then navigate to budget. So we are going to go to budget. So instead of billing, we are going to go to budget. So, but this is where you are going to see your bill. So I want you to check this periodically. Periodically check here. You can check under your bills. You can check your payments. And sometimes AWS will also give you credits. They've given me credit before wherein I just received an email saying, hey, if you do this, sometimes they will do survey because they want to know. Can you guys hear me? Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, my internet.
So
I have this. Let me share again my screen. I'm using a VPN. And so sometimes it will just, when they kick me out, whenever the VPN goes out, it will kill my internet. And that's the functionality so that, you know, nobody will. Yeah. Can you see my screen? Can you see my
yes,
screen? Okay.
yes.
So if you click on that, if you click on bills and then you scroll down, so you see this is where it will give you information. So you can see here right now, I have zero on everything because I don't really have anything. But if you, let's say you want to know, why am I paying this money? I don't know why I'm paying this. So you can click on, so for example, relational database, we are going to talk about that. You can click on, you can expand it and then you can expand. So it gives you a breakdown of like what is actually happening. How much, so if you notice that you are spending too much on a particular service, then you can check why am I spending this money? And if you see that, oh, in US East 1, North Virginia, I have a relational database there that I'm not using. So you can go back to US East 1 and then delete or deactivate that resource. So we are going to go to billing. So I'm going to type billing. I'm going to type budget. So if you follow with me, type budget. So when you type budget, it will show up here on the side. But just wait. My system is a little kind of slow. So you can just select this one, budget. So again, this I'm going to encourage you guys to do this because this is really, sometimes you are going to forget. I've seen a lot of people, I've heard about a lot of people who forget to check their billing or do all those things. And then at the end of the day, they start spending a lot of money unnecessarily. If you choose not to do this, it's really going to be up to you. But at the end of the day, you are gonna be responsible for the bills, and I will not be able to help you with that. So I want you to do it with me as I'm going right now. So click on create budget. And then from here, so you have different options here. You can say use a template, simplify, or custom advanced. So when you use simplify, use the recommended configurations. You can change some configuration options. So basically, AWS have like a best practice recommendation, So you can use that, or you can create and say customize a budget. So you can create it to fit your. So let's see. If you select that, then you have on a budget, you have custom budget, usage budget. So basically, custom budget is a monitor your cost against a specified dollar amount and receive alert when your user defined threshold are met. So you will receive. So let's say you put you say, I don't want to spend up to $10. If I'm spending when I reach $10, I want you to notify me. So whenever you reach that threshold, you receive an email notification that will tell you, say, hey, Azu, your account, you are actually you are reaching your maximum spending on your AWS account, which is $10, based on anything that you specify, And then if you use usage budget, it says usage. Okay, this one. For example, you can set a cost budget for a business unit and then add additional parameters such as the associated number account. And then for usage budget you use is one or more specified usage type or usage type groups, blah, blah, blah. So this is just like what are you using it for? So are you gonna just like do it on EC Tools, S3, and all those other services? So how do you want to use this budget? How much are you using it? What resources are going to be running there? So that you can select this one. And then service plan budget. So if you want to make a plan, you want to save money, then you want to use this one. Reservation, if you have a reservation instance, we are going to talk about it. These are instance type, these two, service plan and then reservation. We'll talk about them. If you are using any of these two, then you select one of them. So we are just going to do cost budget. But if you choose this, the default one, the default one will go zero spending budget. Create a budget that notify you once your spending exceed blah, 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 which is available AWS free tier. So if you use this one, then you can specify, okay, I want you to notify me my maximum. If I spend, I want to spend no more than $15. If I'm reaching $15, I want you to notify me. You can say monthly cost budget. This is like what if you know that, okay, I'm gonna spend every month, I'm spending $50, then you can set a budget for that. Daily savings plan, so you can do it every daily, it will notify you. Daily reservation plan. So basically, we're just gonna do this zero spending. Zero spending, and then I don't want to do, let's do the custom one, or let's do this one first. Let's do this zero spending, and then you put the email address that you want to put here. So I'm going to put, so you can put your own email address, the email address that you want the notification to go to. So I'm going to put UDSKIL skills gateway at gmail.com. So cloud skill gateway at gmail.com. So that's the one I'm gonna use this email. Now, if you have multiple, you can have up to 10 recipients. So all you need to do is to separate them by a comma, right? It says specify the email recipients you want to notify when threshold has exceeded. Maximum number of email recipient is 10. So you can put up to 10 recipients here. You will be notified via email when any spending above 0.01 is incurred. So basically this one, anytime, even if you have like zero, you're going to have a lot of emails. Even if you have like $0, 0.01, it's going to notify you. So that's called the zero budget, right? So I don't really want to do that. So I want to use them. Yes.
Daniel, question.
Yes.
Okay. Will it notify you when you exceed what you have budgeted,
Yeah. Yeah.
or
So,
just as the budget is going on, it keep notifying you?
so for the $0, it will notify you even if you spend. That's why I say it will notify you even when you spend 0.001.
Okay.
So which means you are saying zero spending. So which means I don't want to spend anything. So if you don't want to spend anything, you want to make sure, if you don't want to spend anything, whenever you create the instance, you delete it, then you choose the zero spending, because if it will notify you if anything more than 0.001. Okay. But I will do the monthly. I will not do the zero spending. So the monthly budget. So you put the amount that you want. So let's say for me, I want to do like maybe $10, or let's say 15 at least. So $15, right? And then I'm gonna put the same email address again, and then from there, that's it. You will be notified when your actual spending exceed 85%. So whenever your spending exceed 85%, you would get notification. 2, when your actual spending exceeds 100%, and then 3, if your forecasted spending is expected to reach 100%. So you will receive 3 notifications. 1, if you exceed if it goes up like 85%. 2, if it is 100%, and then 3, if your forecast just means that if you are predicting that, oh, by next week, Black Friday, I'm going to have a lot of track, then it will tell you that. So I'm just going to click create budget. So right now I have my budget created. So I have budget created here. So my budget, I set it to, the budget is $15. Amount used is 0.015, right? So once this, if anything happened, I'm going to receive an alarm on that email that I specified. So guys, this is how you create a budget. So right now, so you have a budget right now here that is going to help you to keep track of like how much you are spending. And if you receive a notification on your email, let me see here. I know the SNS will have like a test notification. Type cost, usage, type URI utilization. Yeah, so this one doesn't really have like the test. At least I don't see it. Okay, so that is so far for the budget. So if you follow through, if you follow this and did this, so you should be good for budget. So that's all for today for budget, for billing and budget. Like again, I will tell you periodically, just come in here and check how much you are spending, right? Periodically. It's really, really important periodically to come in here, check, okay, how many EC2 instances I have running, right? So it's really important. And you can see the services here under description. You can see the services that you'll be using. Any service that you use, it will be here. You can see the payment. Like if you have if you have not paid, AWS will send you notification. If you don't pay, you have bills that are not paid. For such, AWS does I really like AWS, excuse me, because they will notify you over and over and over before. Now they will block access. So you can still have access as an administrator, like as a root user. You can come in here, but you can only do perform billing functions. You will not be able to create anything if you are not paying. You will not be able to create anything. So that's all for the AWS billing and budget. Do you guys have any question on this? Any question? Okay,
No.
so if there is no question, then I'm gonna go to, so we are gonna dive into another topic, another security. So everything that we are doing, I want you guys to take it. We are not just doing anything just like that. We are gonna jump into like the management console. I mean, we are in the management console. Let me see on the thing what we have. So you have the step-by-step instruction here on how to create the budget. So it's right here. So if you go under security, you will see this one, setting up budget on your AWS account. So it's right here. Also, if you have not done the multi-factor authentication, you can also see the MFA, how to set up MFA. The documentation is right here, guys. So, and then let's see what we have so far. So we have cloud computing, EC2, Lambda, Elastic. Okay. So right now we are gonna go. Let's dive into the actual. Let's do some other fun stuff now. So we are gonna start with a VPC. We are gonna start with a VPC. VPC. Does anybody know what a VPC is in this group? Huh? Does anybody know? Can anybody guess like what a VPC is?
Virtual private computer?
Yes. So it's virtual private cloud.
Cloud. Yes.
Yeah, virtual private cloud, right? So remember when we talk about earlier, I did explain that we have three types of deployment models, right? We have private, we have public, and then we have hybrid. I did explain that. And so VPC, so this is my account that you are seeing here. This account, you see, it's a cloud skill gateway. This is AWS. But when you create this account, AWS is giving you an isolated sort of resources, right? It giving you access for you to be able to have your own private cloud. So basically in that private cloud, that's where you are going to be provisioning certain resources, and they are going to be existing in that private cloud, which means it's dedicated to you, right? When you create those resources, the only time someone can access those resources, either they have to be within the same VPC, or you have to grant them access, right? So a VPC is virtual private cloud. So AWS give you slice of their cloud. So just like if you have pizza and then you put it into, and then half of that slice or just a minute of that slice is what a VPC is. So I'll give you an architecture. Let's look at a diagram. I like drawing. Let's look at this. Let's see if we can do some diagram. So I'm just going to remove these ones. And again, guys, this diagram is just Google. It's Google diagram. So you can do it yourself. So I'll just delete it. All right. So, and the thing is, I think you can search for the stuff here. But imagine this is the AWS. So this is the AWS account that you created. Imagine this is your AWS. You started Cloud Skill Gateway, and then you created your own account, as you saw it earlier. So that is your account. So let me see if I can make this into like red. Okay, so the one with the red is the AWS account. Now a VPC, the concept of a VPC will be like this. So you come in here, so AWS, you have created the account with username and password, and then you put your credit card information. Now, AWS, as soon as you create that account, once they verify that your account is good, then a VPC is like this. So a VPC exists inside of the AWS and the console. But this VPC now is your own private cloud. So it's like kind of this, the AWS account is the public cloud. And then the VPC, the resources that you create inside that, that's what they call private, virtual private cloud. So it's virtual because it's remote, it's in the cloud. And then it's private because it's dedicated to you, right? And so that's how. Now you can create resources in here. So let's say you can decide, say, oh, I want to create, let's say, a database. So you can put your database here. Let's say you want to create another application. Let's say you want to do, let's say an EC2. I'm just giving you an example here. Let's say this is an EC2. You can do that. So some majority of the applications are gonna require you to have a VPC. If you don't have a VPC, which is virtual private cloud, again, I'm repeating that. If you don't have a VPC, you are not gonna be able to create certain resources because they are dependent on that EC2. Again, on your home internet, the same concept, also the similar concept. On your home internet, you have your router. When you go to and sign off to Comcast or your favorite internet provider, they give you a router. They give you like a box. That box is what is sitting between you and the cloud. In the cloud, you have the router in the cloud, right? So you can access it. If you guys are interested, I'll show you like how you can access your own router at home, and then do some certain things. You can block access, you can do all those things. So that's like a VPC. So too much of any question about this? Any question? Okay, so I'm gonna take silence for that. There's no question. So let's create a VPC. So again, when you are creating this VPC, I want you to bear in mind, you are gonna use this VPC. You are gonna use it. So I want you to create it. We are not gonna delete it again. And I want you to name this VPC, just call it Project VPC. So click on Create VPC. And before we even create the VPC, so right now I have one VPC running. So on the VPC here, let me just give you a brief rundown. So you have a subnet. A subnet is just how you logically isolate the application from each other. So you can put the subject. So sometimes you have like a private subnet and then a public subnet. A private subnet is a subnet that does not have access to the internet. So which means resources that are inside that private subnet are not going to be able to go to the internet. So if you try to go to the internet, to the browser, you will not be able to access them. So that's called private subnet. And also it's private because it doesn't have an internet gateway. Again, I'll tell you guys what an internet gateway is. An internet gateway is it's the software or the application that allow you, the users within that VPC, to be able to go into the internet. Without the internet gateway, the VPC is private. So you cannot access the internet, right? So that is a subnet. So basically a subnet, you have a private subnet, you have public subnet. So you are basically isolating the application from each other. And then you have a route table. A route table is like, how is the traffic going to be routed, right? So even on your internet at home, you have a route table, right? It's there because that's how it's going to direct the traffic, right? Send this traffic here. And then you have, so again, if you click on each one, it gives you information, just like I said, like this VPC. So if you click on VPC, the information, Amazon Virtual Private Cloud, VPC, Amazon VPC, enable you to launch AWS resources into a virtual network. So basically the VPC is your own virtual network. It's private for you. The virtual network closely resembles a traditional network that you did operate in your own data center. So basically you are creating your own data. So that's what, again, guys, you can click on each one and then you can get information for the subnet. If you click on the subnet, you can see information about the subnet. So if I click on this subnet, so you see here, a subnet is a range of IP addresses in your VPC. After creating a VPC, you can add one or more subnets in each availability zone. We already talked about what availability zone is. So a subnet is just like it's a range of IP addresses. So we're going to talk about what an IP address is very shortly. And then the route table, it's right here. Again, if you click on the information, show information, or give information. A route table contains a set of rules called route. So it contains rules, and those rules are what actually route out into the traffic that are used to determine where network traffic from the subnet or gateway is directed. So whenever the internet gateway receives the traffic from the internet, like whenever, for example, you go google.com, that information, the route table is taking it, and then look at the information and say, okay, you are going to the private subnet or you are going to the public subnet. So that's the function of the route table. And then the internet gateway is the big guy here. The internet gateway, so for a VPC or for a subnet to be a public subnet, I want you to remember this. For a VPC or a network to be a public subnet, it has to have an internet gateway. It's just like you build a house. If you build a house, even in Africa, when they build like huts, like those huts, right? Those round ones, it has one entrance, right? It has to have an entrance, just like when you also build your house, you have the main door. So that main door is like your VPC. It's like the entrance to your application. That's how some people are going to be able to access your application via the internet. Without the internet gateway, nobody will be able to access that application through the internet. That's why it's called Internet Gateway. And that's why my company, CloudScale Gateway, that's why it's called CloudScale Gateway, because I'm providing like the access, the introduction. You know, when you come here, we introduce you into the cloud. We give you like the pathway to the cloud. So that's the same thing here. Again, this one also, if you click information, you see some information here. An internet gateway is a horizontally scaled, redundant, and highly available VPC component that enable communication between your VPC and the internet. That's really self-explanatory. Just validate what everything I've explained to you guys so far. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. And then there are other things here, NAT gateway. I want us to talk about NAT gateway. So I talk about like the private subnet and the public subnet. So let's say there are some applications you are not gonna want the users to be able to access those applications via the internet, because that will be security breach. You want, for example, database applications. If you have a 3-tier application, I showed you guys the last time. Three-tier. So I showed you an image. I just want to show you an image really quick. Yeah, so there is always this. So this is a 3-tier application. Well, let me use this one. That's actually a video. I'm not looking for a video. I'm not looking for a video. Oh, let's do this one. Okay, guys. So majority of the companies that you see, this is how their architecture looks like, right? So you have, so this is a 3-tier application. So this, what you see here, this is the presentation tier, logic tier, and then the database tier. So this presentation tier is what you see the end users. This is where the user, you will be sitting right here, and this is this first tier, this presentation tier. This is where you can access the application. You can go in there like this browser, you can go in there and play with stuff and then do sign up and go in. So this is a presentation tier. This is what people see. And then the logic tier, this is a server that is hosting the application, right? This database tier, this one you don't give access. This two you don't give access. So the first access is here, and then from here, because you are still gonna need access to the database. But how are you gonna get that access? The way you are gonna get access to the database is what we call the NAT gateway. So it just means network address translation gateway. So basically it translates your network. So you put a NAT gateway in a public subnet, but the NAT gateway is going to enable the database tier to go into the internet, transversing the internet. So basically it goes into the internet without like people on the internet knowing that they are in the internet. Why do you do that? Because your application, at some point, you are going to need security patches. At some point, you are going to need to maybe configure something from the internet. And how are you going to do that? How are you going to go to the internet when it doesn't have access to the internet? Well, the solution to that is NAT gateway. NAT gateway sits in front of our application in a public subnet, but then it creates a tunnel for you so that you can go into the internet and then get security patches, get updates from the internet without other people knowing that your database is on the internet. So that is the best practice. You never want to give public access to your database, especially your database, because the database usually contains like sensitive information like your name, address, social security, payment information, and all of those things. If they put it on the internet, people will be hackers and bad people, bad actors will be so happy to go get people's information. So today tomorrow we are going to create the VPCs. Today was just like a discussion. So that's NAT gateway, and then the other one is elastic IP. So elastic IP, I will explain that like when we go to VPC. But basically, it makes your IP address to become static, which means like, because for some of you who know, like whenever you shut down your instance, you lose the IP address. Every time you turn on the instance, it generated a new IP address. Where elastic IP address will solve that problem, because you don't want your customers to always have to ask you for a new IP address. You want that IP address to be static. So that's elastic IP address. Elastic IP address perform that for you. It gives you that flexibility. And then you have network ACL, which I will talk about, and security group. Security group are just firewalls. Security group and ACL are almost the same. Let's look at it. We have about 5 minutes. So a network. So the ACL stands for Network Access Control List. It's an optional. So the ACL actually protects the subnet level. So the subnet that we talked about earlier, it's a firewall. The ACL is a firewall for the subnet level, at the subnet level. Whereas security group is also a firewall. They are both firewall, but the security group is mainly at the instance level. So at the server level. So the security group is going to be for the instance level. And the security group is it contains a set of rules that is going to be allowing who can access the application. So that's security group and ACL. So in an exam, they will ask you what's the difference between ACL and security group. So ACL is only for the subnet. It protects the subnet. Security group protect the instance. The instance, I mean, we have not talked about that, but it just means the server that you are running. Yeah. And so you can look at like the relationship here. So security group have like, once you have access to come in, it can also allow you to go out. ACL is not like that. ACL, for every time you come in, you have to have permission to go out again. It's like when I think I gave an analogy the other day. When you go to the emergency room to see like if you have a friend there or you have a family member, when you go at the they check for security, they check for your ID, they check for your information to make sure that you are permitted or you are allowed to see that person. So when you are going in, that's what they do. They check you. They even check you right now. They have like metal scanners, they scan you just to make sure that you are, you are who you are or you are safe going there. But when you go in there, nobody cares when you are coming out. They don't even care. You just walk out. They are not going to check you again. That's like security group. ACL is not like that. ACL, even when it will check you for security, do you have permission? You say yes. And then, okay, if you have permission, it grants you access. And then when you are ready to come out again, it will ask you again, do you have permission to go out? And then you say yes, and then it will allow you. If you say no, then it will not allow you. So that's the difference. We can look at it tomorrow since we don't have a lot of time. I'm going to pause it here. We can continue from where we stop here. I'm going to pause and just open the room for questions and clarification or anything, any queries. Any question, any clarification?
Daniel,
Yes.
good morning. Yeah, Daniel, I don't know if all the tools for the practice has been completely installed by the student, because I've not seen any of them, and none of those tools were discussed today.
Yeah, so we didn't. So I know for sure, like Jordan. I don't know for Messi. I don't know, Messi, if you were following. But
no, I haven't because I tried doing that. I haven't done that.
Okay. So
I changed my laptop.
You change it, okay. Yeah, so which means that's so you gotta I want you to set a time with Solomon so that
Okay.
Solomon can help you walk through that. But also the material is available on the classroom. So if you go to the coursework, majority of the tools that we downloaded, they're there. The materials are there. So if you go down to like how to set up, where is this one? Like Terraform, and then the CLI we haven't talked about. Where is the other one? Like that one we already did. So it might be on that DevOps. So if you don't see it here, go on that DevOps. But I would say make an appointment with Solomon or with myself later on, or maybe today, or just to go over that. So yeah, if you come under here, you will see the resources like those things, and those materials that we download. We are not going to use them for now, especially like that Java and Maven. We are not going to use them right now. We just want you to have them ready because next month we are starting like DevOps, and that's when we are going to really use those materials. But you can find the materials here on how to set up. Like I think with this one you have, I think it's under resources. Yeah, so Maven, how to install Maven, it's right here. How to install Java, it's right here on Mac, Windows OS. On this same thing here, if you go here, this same one will have, you'll be able to find resources like this one also, how to install like Java and all things, it's there. Visual Studio, how to do that, how to download Visual Studio, it's all here. How to set up, okay, that one we haven't done. Terraform is there. How to download on Linux, Terraform on Linux. So it's all there, okay? But just set up an appointment with me or Solomon, and then we'll be able to help you with that.
Thank you.
So tomorrow we'll install another application, the AWS CLI, because that one we are going to need. So, but if you don't want to wait for me, you can just come here. It's right here. There's a documentation for that. There's a documentation here under security. Yeah, AWS CLI, how to download that. So it's right here. This document is very self-explanatory. If you still have issues, you can just let us know. So it's right here. So for Mac, so I know like if you have Mac, this is for you. You can use this. If you are doing it on Linux, it's right here. On Windows, this is what you do. You just follow this instruction. You probably want to search online for this because like to get the latest one, but if I should say MSIEXEC, right? .exe. So that's what you want to download. But I'll go over it tomorrow also. You don't have to worry about it. But if you want to do it ahead of time, that's fine also. Any other question or concern? I'm going to stop recording and just allow questions and